My boy Toland is now technically out of prison, on parole, and back in Megget, South Carolina, living amongst the Magicians. He works a job at the bait and tackle shop in the back, sorting worms and fixing poles. He makes a decent living for around here, an hourly wage. I'm just so glad to see him without having to speak through glace. We watch Carolina games and drink beers. It's not a bad life, all things considered. But there's something very important I would like to discuss here on this show, and it is to clear the boy's name. And maybe by doing so, he can get a more respectable job like a busboy at Zaxby's. Apparently, Zaxby standards are too high to hire a quote unquote sex offender. Now, see, Toland was lured into a trap back in 2006 by a television program by the name of To Catch a Predator. They framed him into trying to meet a 17-year-old boy. Let's be honest, a man, or at least close to one. He wasn't no boy. Come on now. That's the surface level facts of it. But if you know Toland, and you know the real story, you would know that Chip Hansen and To Catch a Predator was a goddamn fucking sham. I've been living with this knowledge for years now. But it wasn't until I heard a show called Surreal, where a liberal city woman did an investigation to clear the name of some Arab boy from Baltimore. I thought, you know what? You know what? I could do that. I could clear Toland's name and let the world know the real story. Now, this feminist East Coast elite woman did what they in big cities call a podcast. I wasn't sure what a podcast was when I first heard about it. Apparently, people just talk into microphone and record it like it's a dang radio show. And just like the radio, it plays through the dashboard of your car. I don't know why I wouldn't just then listen to the damn actual radio, but that's neither here nor there. Anyways, let's begin with part one, or introduction. Let's call this part the evidence. Now, the evidence against Toland. You can't see me now, but I just did air quotes. That means it's bucket bullshit. Now, I'm not going to lie. When you only get there with the side of the story, it don't sound too good. You're just going to have to bear with me because I promise you there's an explanation for everything. You're going to have to trust me now. So the first encounter with Tone occurred on the internet in what they call an online chat room. It was a chat room about high school wrestling. Toland is, of course, a fan of the sport. Because guess what? Who isn't? You show me a man and I will show you a high school wrestler fan. Fucking tried and true. Every guy knows what I'm talking about. If they don't, they might be one of them funny boys. You know what I'm talking about when I say funny boys. Anyways, they was in there chatting about wrestling. Stuff like the latest moves and techniques, why girls shouldn't be allowed to participate, who was the best wrestler in the county, the best ways to combat jock itch and athlete's foot, also ringworm. There was nothing nefarious about it. Now, the police first got suspicious of Toland because he took a special interest in the conversation about jock itch and athlete's foot. Toland said he had homemade cures for both, and they were along the line of special ointments and botanicals. Well, plug in the electric chair. They say Lotrimin and icy hot at the grocery store. Does that mean the cashier at the Piggly Wiggly is a dang pedophile? Come on now. Now, there was more evidence, of course. They had him on camera, showing up at the house, walking in and finding it was all a big dang old setup. The media does a good job with their clever video and editing and camera tricks. They all also listened to all the stuff he had on his person. Now, you see, Toland was a resourceful boy. When he showed up at the house, he had quite a bit of supplies that could technically be used for sexual purposes. Or if you had a truly depraved mind like Chip fucking Hansen does, perhaps even worse. When you read it like a list with no context, you might think he was up to no good. But I can explain every single one of them dang items on that list. First of all, he had a box of condoms. Okay, so what? A box of condoms. If you know Toland, you know it's part of his deal. He always has a box of condoms on his person. Going to the movies, box of condoms. Going fishing, box of condoms. Going to the high school wrestling match, oh, you better believe, box of condoms. I mean, we used to joke, it was like, Toland and the condoms, like it was a band or something, like Huey Lewis and the Dang News. Secondly, he had about 30 feet of rope, some lime, duct tape, a shovel, nunchucks, and a picture of Scott Peterson. Now let's go through these one by one. The rope was for water skiing. Toland loves to jet ski. And he's pretty dang good at it too, mind you. There's something about his body that has wonderful aerodynamics to it. The line was for gardening. Same for the shovel. The boy loves tulips. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Come on now. The duct tape was for general purposes, like, duct tape is, fucking meant for. I once saw Toland fix a boat engine with just plain old duct tape. I told you he was resourceful. Now, the nunchucks was just because nunchucks are cool. Everyone has their own way of relaxing, and Toland likes, to nunchuck it around the house. And the picture Scott Peterson was to take to the barbershop because he liked his haircut. And he wanted to get one just like it. Sometimes that's the best way to get the look you want. He happened to have misplaced his Offspring CD. I mean, what are you going to do? As you can see, the case against Toland was absolute bullshit. The man should be able to clear his name so he can work at the dang Zaxby's. He may even be able to get a job someday at the Amazon fulfillment centers. But maybe he could just start with Zaxby's. Anyways, in part 2, we will go through why Toland is not homosexual no more. So mix up some sweet old tea. Stay tuned for that.